We're not shoving one more unconstitutional piece of legislation at us. If we did that, Senator Cornyn, would that change the discourse in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Senate? And he said, well, particularly if some of the states that have introduced nullification language are the states that have senators that are on the fence. See, when we start to exercise our sovereignty as individual states, we will change what's happened in Washington. We've all been focused as a state on trying to send one guy up there to fight with 435 other people in the U.S. House of Representatives, hoping that we might stop it. How about we say, y'all do all you can, but we got your back. It gets past you, it is not getting into Texas. It's not coming here. You use nullification, you champion a legislature that will pass bills that will stop the federal government, that will invalidate things that they do that are outside the Constitution. Don't think for a second that I'm here advocating anarchy. I'm not. The Constitution says those powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the people in the states. If we need to regulate energy in Texas, then Texas needs to regulate energy. When the governor, as the executive, administers the 140 agencies in this state, he goes to TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and he says there is no constitutional authority for an EPA. And you will not enforce federal law on the manufacturers and producers in this state. You will enforce state law, and that is the only hoops that we will try to get our businesses to jump through. We will not continue to dance for the EPA. They have no authority in the great state of Texas. When we began to exhort our county sheriffs that you are the constitutional law enforcement executive in your county, and when that EPA guy shows up calling at your office, you call me and I'll escort him out of Victoria County, we will change not just our state, but our country. I think you believe, as I do, that the U.S. Constitution is the best blueprint ever drawn for a free and prosperous society. If we want that freedom again, if we want that prosperity again, if we want those dreams again, then we've got to follow that blueprint. That means a limited federal government, and that means the Texas ag industry might not look like the one in Louisiana, or the one in Oklahoma, or the one in California. Texas ag is going to look like Texans decide Texas ag is going to look. Congressman Poe said another thing to me that made me sit up and take notice. He said, Deborah, I don't believe cap and trade will get through the Congress, but the EPA will implement it anyway. I was in the Permian Basin. I've been out there twice in the last 2 weeks, and a lot of oil and gas in the Permian Basin. And there was a producer out there who said to me, let me tell you something, I don't know how much you know about oil and gas. And I said, not much. I know a lot about health care, and I know a lot about farming and ranching, but I don't know a whole lot about oil and gas production. He said, we need all the CO2 you can get to West Texas.
Yeah, and that's true.
He said, you harvest that, you capture that CO2 and you get it out here to West Texas. We won't need to import a barrel of oil for the next 40 years. He said, we've got enough oil and gas production in West Texas to fuel the United States of America for 40 years without a drop of import. Get us CO2 to West Texas. Some of you are already dreaming, thinking, how can you go into that business? You're figuring out how to capture methane gas out of the backs of your cows and get it out there to West Texas. You know, we're going to do that again. When you back the government off of man, we are innovative, creative, industrious creatures. But not when we're under the weight of an oppressive government that takes and takes and takes. And that's my signal to shut up. That's where we are in this state. The governor will talk about the great economic condition that we're in, and he'll talk about how much better Texas is, and that may be true. We are economically in a better situation, but we're not. We're far from being in a good economic climate. Here's where we are. Very quickly, here's where we are economically in Texas, so you can begin to, they're serious. I hate that. You can maybe begin to make better plans for, can y'all hear me from here? You can maybe begin to make some better plans for where you are as a family and where you are as a business if you accurately understand the financial picture of Texas. Oh, yeah. I've been in private for-profit healthcare for a long time. I have a nursing degree, but I also have a business degree, and so I know how to read a balance sheet and a P&L. And let me tell you where we are in Texas. We've all been under the misconception that we have a balanced budget here. And I say misconception because I think your definition of balanced budget is probably pretty close to mine, and it's way far from where theirs is. The state of Texas is spending every dime that it takes in, but it's tripled our debt in the last 9 years under Governor Perry's leadership. When he took office, we were $12 billion in debt. Today, we are over $31 billion in debt. We have a constitutional debt limit ceiling in this state. We have exhausted 85%. You run your credit card bill up as high as it can go. 85% of your credit limit is exhausted. You've tripled your debt. You're spending every dime you make. Anybody calling that balanced? See, we're not. We don't have about, we're making our debt payments, we're making our note payments. If we do not take on another dime of debt in this state, we do not get out of debt until 2047.
I don't believe that.
We're doing that in constitutional amendment elections the November after the legislative session. But we don't have anybody in the leadership that's saying, time out, Texas, let me tell you what these amendments mean. Here's what our balance sheet looks like. Here's how much debt we've already got. And now we're asking you to take on more debt. Nobody's done that for us, and those amendments pass, and we've tripled debt in Texas. $12 billion when the governor took office, over $31 billion today, 85% of our credit limit gone. He's talking about adding jobs. We do, in fact, have 142,000 more people working November of 2009 than we had working in January of 2007. But if you scroll down through that report from the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, you will see the construction sector jobs look like that. And we lost jobs there. And in every sector, you see the curve looks like that. And you wonder, well, where are those 142,000 jobs? When you get to the very bottom of that report, there's the government sector, and it looks like that. And it has added 156,000 jobs. From January of 2007 to November of 2009, we've added 156,000 government sector jobs. We've lost 14,000 private sector jobs. 156 minus 142, 14,000. Homeschool math. We've lost 14,000 jobs in the private sector, and we've added 156,000 jobs in the government sector. That means there's 14,000 fewer of us supporting the wages, salaries, and benefits of 156,000 more public sector employees. You want to know how come your neighbor can't find a job? How come you haven't had a pay raise in 5 years? How come your hours have been cut from 40 to 36 to 32? That's why.